In the twilight of a forgotten era, when the world still bore the fingerprints of the divine, there existed a lineage of remarkable longevity. These were the ancients, the whispered legends who defied time itself. Among them, Noah, Methuselah, and Thot stood as luminous pillars, their lives stretching across centuries like ancient oaks reaching for the sky. Noah, the shipwright, was a man of unwavering faith. His eyes held the reflection of distant floods, the cataclysmic deluge that cleansed the world of its sins. He built the ark, guided by visions of a wrathful God. But what if Noah's secret lay not in his piety alone? What if he possessed a vial of celestial dew, bestowed upon him by angels? This elixir, hidden within the folds of his robe, sustained his life, granting him the years to oversee the salvation of all creatures. Methuselah, the man of the javelin, was more enigma than sage. His name echoed through generations, a whispered incantation. His eyes held the wisdom of epochs, and his laughter carried the echoes of forgotten tongues. Methuselah wandered the desolate lands, seeking hidden springs and ancient groves. There, he drank from the fountains of immortality, the very waters that flowed from Eden's heart. His longevity was no mere happenstance, it was a pact with the earth itself. Thot, the reclusive alchemist, dwelled in a crumbling tower atop Mount Sinai. His laboratory hummed with arcane energies, and his shelves groaned under the weight of grimoires. Thot's pursuit was singular, the philosopher's stone, the mythical substance that could transmute base metals into gold and grant eternal life. His experiments spanned centuries, and he dissected the very fabric of existence. Yet, Thot's greatest discovery lay not in alchemical equations but in the whispers of the wind, the forgotten language of the cosmos. As the world shifted toward modernity, the ancients withdrew. They watched from shadowed alcoves as cities rose, empires crumbled, and humanity's memory dimmed. Noah, now clad in a tattered cloak, wandered the streets of Rome, his eyes reflecting the Colosseum's grandeur. Methuselah, his skin etched with constellations, sought solace in Himalayan caves, where monks revered him as a sage. Thot, his hair silver as moonlight, retreated to the Egyptian desert, whispering secrets to the Sphinx. But the elixir of ages waned. Noah's vial grew cloudy, its potency diluted by time. Methuselah's springs ran dry, and Thot's alchemical fire flickered. They convened a clandestine council of immortals beneath the gnarled branches of the tree of life. Their decision was unanimous, they would pass their knowledge to a chosen successor. Enter Elijah, the prophet. His eyes mirrored the ancients, and his heart beat in rhythm with forgotten hymns. Noah handed him the vial, Methuselah whispered cosmic equations, and Thot bestowed the secret of transmutation. Elijah became the vessel, the bridge between epochs. Elijah wandered the world, his footsteps echoing through libraries and laboratories. He shared glimpses of immortality with scientists, poets, and dreamers. Yet, humanity had changed. The elixir no longer granted centuries, it merely extended life by decades. Elijah watched as skyscrapers pierced the heavens, and the digital age birthed a new kind of immortality, the one inscribed in code and pixels. And so, the ancients faded, their final breaths carried by winds that whispered their names. Noah, Methuselah, and Thot merged with the collective memory, their stories woven into the fabric of time. As for Elijah, he wandered still, seeking the elusive philosopher's stone, the ultimate synthesis of science and magic. And thus, dear reader, the tale unfolds, a dance between mortality and eternity, where the past whispers to the present, and the future awaits its own alchemical awakening. Elijah, the chosen successor, stood at the crossroads of epochs. His heart echoed with the whispers of Noah, Methuselah, and Thot, their ancient secrets etched into his very bones. The philosopher's stone remained elusive, a shimmering mirage on the horizon. But Elijah was no ordinary seeker, he was an alchemist's apprentice, bridging science and magic, reason and wonder. In the heart of Prague, beneath the shadow of the Charles Bridge, lay the alchemical library, a repository of forgotten texts, guarded by a wizened librarian named Ludmila. Her eyes held the wisdom of centuries, and her fingers traced the spines of grimoires older than empires. Elijah sought her counsel, for Ludmila had glimpsed the ancients in her dreams, their faces reflected in mercury mirrors. "Seek the Codex Vitae," Ludmila whispered, her breath carrying the scent of dried rose petals. "Within its pages lies the recipe for the elixir of ages, the alchemical symphony that harmonizes life and eternity." And so, Elijah delved into the Codex, a labyrinth of symbols, encoded truths, and riddles whispered by sages long gone. He deciphered the language of the elements, conversing with fire, water, earth, and air. Each element revealed a fragment: Noah's vial, Methuselah's springs, and Thot's cosmic equations. But the philosopher's stone remained veiled, like a distant star behind storm clouds. Elijah's quest led him to the Himalayan monastery of Whispering Winds. There, he met Yashi, an ancient monk who brewed tea from moonlight and spoke in paradoxes. Yashi's eyes held galaxies, the birth and death of stars, and he guided Elijah to the cave of echoing silence. Within the cave, Elijah meditated. His mind became a kaleidoscope, merging memories of the ancients with glimpses of his own mortality. He saw Noah's hands shaping gopher wood, Methuselah's laughter echoing through primordial forests, and Thot's alchemical fire dancing in constellations. And then, a revelation: the philosopher's stone was not a singular object but a metaphor, the alchemical marriage of soul and substance. Elijah returned to Prague, where Ludmila awaited. She led him to the astral observatory, perched atop the library's spire. There, they gazed through telescopes, mapping celestial patterns, the cosmic dance of planets and comets. Ludmila whispered, "The stone lies in the great conjunction when Jupiter and Saturn embrace." And so, Elijah observed the skies, waiting for the celestial kiss. He fasted, studied ancient star charts, and composed sonnets to the planets. On the eve of the great conjunction, he climbed the observatory's spiral staircase, his heart a celestial compass. As Jupiter and Saturn aligned, their energies merged, a cosmic alchemy. Elijah raised a crystal vial, capturing stardust, the essence of ages. He drank, and the universe sang a symphony of forgotten hymns. His skin shimmered, and his eyes held galaxies. He became the philosopher's stone, the bridge between worlds. Elijah wandered the modern age, his footsteps echoing through laboratories and poetry readings. He shared glimpses of immortality with scientists, who dissected his blood for clues. They found telomeres woven like golden threads, the elixir of ages encoded in his DNA. Yet, humanity had changed. The digital age birthed a new kind of immortality, the one inscribed in code and pixels. Elijah watched as skyscrapers pierced the heavens, and neural networks whispered secrets. He wondered if the ancients would recognize this world, a tapestry of zeros and ones. And so, dear reader, the tale continues, a dance between mortality and eternity, where the past whispers to the present, and the future awaits its own alchemical awakening. Perhaps you, too, carry the philosopher's stone within, a hidden truth waiting to be transmuted. Part 6, The Alchemy of Memory, the Forgotten Garden. Elijah's footsteps led him to a forgotten garden, an emerald sanctuary hidden within the heart of Prague. Here, roses bloomed with petals like crimson secrets, and ivy whispered forgotten ballads. The air tasted of dew and ancient promises. In the center stood a moonstone fountain, its waters shimmering with lunar reflections. Elijah dipped his fingers into the fountain, and memories surged, a kaleidoscope of lifetimes. He saw Noah's hands shaping gopher wood, Methuselah's laughter echoing through primordial forests, and Thot's alchemical fire dancing in constellations. But there were gaps, fading fragments like old parchment. In the garden's shadow, an oracle awaited, a woman named Sibylla. Her eyes held the weight of centuries, and her voice carried echoes from the dawn of creation. Sibylla sat on a stone bench, her fingers weaving spider silk threads into patterns only she understood. "Elijah," she said, her gaze piercing his soul. "You seek the philosopher's stone, the elixir that binds memory and eternity. But do you understand the cost?" Elijah hesitated. What cost? The ancients, Sibylla whispered, paid with fragments of their past. Each sip of immortality stole memories, the taste of a lover's kiss, the scent of rain-soaked earth, the laughter of children. They became custodians of epochs, yet their personal histories crumbled like ancient scrolls. Sibylla handed Elijah a crystal vial, the memory vessel. Its facets held reflections of forgotten faces. "Fill it," she instructed. "Each drop will grant you years but steal memories. Choose wisely." Elijah pondered. He could drink from the moonstone fountain, become the bridge between worlds, and unravel the cosmos. Or he could sip from the memory vessel, preserving fragments of his humanity. Elijah wandered the garden, torn between elixirs. He watched roses bloom and wither, their petals falling like whispered secrets. He listened to ivy's lamented dirge for lost moments. And then, he made his choice. He filled the memory vessel with tears, the salt of forgotten laughter, the ache of unspoken words, the warmth of sun-kissed mornings. Each drop held a lifetime, a grandmother's lullaby, a lover's whispered promise, a child's first steps. Elijah climbed the moonstone fountain, its waters singing forgotten hymns. He raised the memory vessel to his lips. The first sip tasted of summer rain, the smell of petrichor, the touch of grass against bare feet. The second sip held the laughter of friends, their faces blurred yet familiar. And then, the final sip, a bittersweet symphony. Elijah glimpsed Noah's eyes, the weight of a world saved. He heard Methuselah's wisdom, the echo of ancient forests. Thot's equations danced like fireflies, the language of forgotten stars. Elijah became the eternal gardener, a custodian of memories. He tended to the roses, whispering their names, the forgotten, the lost, the cherished. He wove ivy into crowns, placing them on statues, the guardians of time. And he sat by the moonstone fountain, sipping from the memory vessel, reliving moments like fractured dreams. Sibylla watched from her stone bench. "You chose well," she said. "The philosopher's stone awaits another seeker. But you are the keeper of stories. When the world forgets, you'll remember." And so, dear reader, the tale concludes, a dance between mortality and eternity, where the past whispers to the present, and the future blooms like 1,000 roses. One fountain exists only in the realms of imagination. But perhaps, in forgotten corners of existence, they await discovery. Glowing star. Elijah tended the forgotten garden, his fingers tracing the veins of rose petals. Each bloom held a memory, a whispered secret, a stolen kiss, a tear shed in solitude. The ivy, too, had stories, their tendrils weaving through time, binding the statues to their silent guardianship. He sat by the moonstone fountain, its waters singing forgotten hymns. The memory vessel rested beside him, its crystal facets catching moonlight. Elijah wondered if he had made the right choice to preserve memories at the cost of his own. The ancients' faces blurred, their laughter fading like echoes in a cavern. One moonless night, a stranger arrived, a seeker named Lyra. Her eyes held the hunger of ages, and her footsteps echoed with purpose. Lyra wore a cloak woven from stardust, and her voice carried the resonance of forgotten constellations. "You tend to memories," she said, her gaze piercing Elijah's soul. "But what of your own?" Elijah hesitated. "I am the eternal gardener," he replied. "My duty is to preserve." Lyra knelt by the fountain, her fingers trailing through the water. "The philosopher's stone," she murmured. "It lies within you, the symphony of existence. But you must reclaim your own notes." Lyra revealed her quest to compose the celestial sonata. It was no ordinary melody, it resonated across dimensions, binding souls to stars. Each note held memories, the birth of galaxies, the death of suns, the size of nebulae. But the final chord, the one that bridged eternity, eluded her. Elijah listened, his heart stirring. "And how does one compose such a sonata?" Lyra smiled. "By reclaiming lost memories. The ones you sacrificed, the taste of rain, the warmth of a lover's breath, the scent of old books. they are your notes, the fragments of your soul. Together, they journeyed beyond the garden into the memory labyrinth. Its walls shimmered with reflections, moments half forgotten, dreams half remembered. Each corridor led to a door, an echo of a life lived. Elijah hesitated before the first. "Open it," Lyra urged. "Reclaim what was stolen." He turned the handle, the door creaking like an ancient oak. Memories flooded: a grandmother's lullaby, a childhood hide and seek, a lover's whispered promise. Elijah wept, tasting rain and sunshine in equal measure. Behind another door, he found her, Isabella, his lost love. Her eyes held the universe, the same eyes that once traced constellations on his skin. Isabella's laughter echoed a melody he had silenced. She wore a dress woven from stardust, the very fabric of Lyra's cloak. "Why did you forget?" Isabella asked, her voice a celestial whisper. "I tended to roses," Elijah confessed. "I became custodian of epochs." Isabella kissed him, a memory reborn. "Compose our love," she said. "Let it resonate through the stars." Elijah returned to the garden, the memory vessel now filled with his reclaimed notes. Lyra sat by the moonstone fountain, her fingers poised above the water. Together, they composed their memories, intertwining like ivy. The celestial sonata began, a symphony of forgotten kisses, stolen glances, and whispered promises. The roses swayed, their petals catching moonlight. The statues stirred, their stone hearts quickening. And Elijah, weaving Isabella's laughter into the melody, became the bridge between worlds. As the last note echoed, the garden trembled. The moonstone fountain erupted, a cosmic geyser. Elijah drank the waters, tasting of rain, sunshine, and Isabella's lips. He became the philosopher's stone, the eternal gardener and composer. Lyra vanished, her cloak dissolving into stardust. "Remember," she whispered. "Compose for all who have forgotten." And so, dear reader, the tale concludes, a dance between mortality and eternity, where the past whispers to the present and the future awaits its own celestial symphony.